YouTube Ozick going the Goat House is back after the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, recapping all four games, all the big moments, and I'm very excited for the conference championship round here. Pretty even across the board in my opinion. No clear-cut favorite, and I like that. So we got you covered for all that, and of course the offseason and all the rankings from the season. We have all of it, all the action here at the Goat House. So please subscribe to both of our channels. We have two channels now, trying to get 40K on both those channels. Twitter, at Goathouse NFL, constantly talking about the NFL every single day. And then during games, we're always talking live. We'll be doing that for the national championship tonight. Cannot wait for that. Patreon.com/Goathouse as extra content, and you help support the channel, keep us going here. So yeah, please subscribe to the two channels. Follow us on Twitter. Link in the description in the comments for all that. First game, Vikings-Niners. First half was, I guess a game. Second half, not so much. The start of this game looked, I didn't like the very start for the Vikings. You just go 3 and out. You run the ball on first, run the ball on second. What's been my number one rule all year for just offenses in general? It's be unpredictable. And, not too creative there with that first down run, second down run. The game plan for the Niners to stop Dalvin Cook. You're making it easy for them. You're obvious. So you go 3 and out, and the Niners with an impressive drive just to get in the end zone. And it just complete opposites. Just so unpredictable, the Shanahan offense. You don't know if they're going to run. You don't know if they're going to throw it, and they can do both pretty consistently. Garoppolo actually was pretty off target in this game. Too much staring down his receivers. So that's kind of the only bad thing about the Niners from this game. The good thing is he really wasn't completely on his game, and they still won pretty easily, and they got a good amount of rest in the second half. So that was kind of the good thing. But the Niners, with a first good drive there, and they didn't even start with the ball. And then the Vikings with, they take a shot early. You don't really see – the Vikings aren't a team to take too many shots. I guess some games they did it throughout the season, and those are the games where they were very successful on offense when they were more of an offensive team. But they take a shot to Diggs, and Witherspoon actually had a decent coverage on him, but didn't make a play on the ball, was trying to play the receiver rather than the ball, and it made it easy for Diggs. Good throw, good catch, touchdown. So it seems like we have a game at this point, but kind of then every time the Vikings get a chance back on offense, it's just kind of going back to the being predictable. It's pretty much just first down, 90%, at least 90% of the times a run. If it's not, it's either a running back screen, so you're still getting the ball to Cook, who the game plan is against, or you're not only going with the tight end screen, but I think it's interesting that they like all of a sudden going to the tight end screen to their Tyler Conklin, their third tight end. You have Irv Smith, this athletic tight end, and that's who you're going to. That's who you're not going to, Irv Smith. So I did not like the play calls on first downs, but what I didn't like, what I disliked the most was that the shot to Diggs worked, and not only you don't take another shot for a long time in this game, you really don't go back to Diggs. And you do have to credit the Niners defense. They have guys covered, and that's kind of, maybe Cousins could have taken a little more shots to guys that are, because when Diggs caught that big play, he was still covered. So maybe they could have taken more shots. I didn't like the play calls. It seemed like the play calls were extremely conservative just to stay in the game. And then the Niners, when they get the ball, they're doing a very good job keeping drives alive. There was a 3rd and 12 early in the game that they converted. It resulted in getting a touchdown that was huge from Garoppolo. There was some big catches. Kendrick Bourne's making some big catches. There was some big time clutch plays. Niners were ready for the moment, and in terms of the players and in terms of the coaching staff. And the Vikings, have felt like for both, we're not ready for the moment. The game really wasn't close in the second half, and it did feel like it was kind of set up by the Vikings play calling. If the play calling was better, if they took more shots, do I think the Vikings win the game? No. The Niners just, not only what we're talking about, outcoached them, they outplayed them too. But you put your team in a better situation. It feels like they set their team up here. And what I mean by that is you kind of, set your team up to be down and get down more, where you're waiting to take those shots when everybody on the planet knows you're taking those shots. The game's pretty much over. They got to come from behind. The defense is playing the pass because they know you're passing. Defense is a guessing game. So I did not like how the Vikings handled, the play calling, but the players weren't really on either. And we've seen a good play from Diggs. I thought Danielle Hunter had a pretty good game and was getting going, but Then the Niners just, smart, of them, just started running the ball, and it started to work. The blocking was excellent. You see not only the offensive line, but Kittle, of course, and Tevin Coleman having a big game. They're kind of just running it down their throats, and they're just running the clock, and it's a nice, relaxing second half for the Niners, basically, kind of just to stay rested for next week. It's kind of what it felt like. So it was a big time game for the Niners, and not only the win, but I guess the way they did it, was good. It's just good for next week, and it was impressive that it didn't feel like they gave full effort in the second half to still get the job done. Nick Bosa had a monster game. Armstead had a monster. Good to have D Ford back. He's seen him come from the inside to the outside. Love when pass rushers are, that versatile, to be able to do that. So it was a pretty easy win for the Niners. Disappointed with the Vikings coaching staff, disappointed with some players there. But I really wish they would have taken more shots. Would they have won the game if they took more shots? I really don't think so. But you can't say, that wouldn't have put them in a better situation, to stay in the game, to have a chance. So that's what I don't like. But the Niners outcoached them and outplayed them. Well-deserved win for them, and well-deserved first seed we saw here. But yeah, big game from Coleman, from even though the Vikings kind of limited Kittle in the receiving game, he was dominant, on the blocks downfield, those pitches, the sweeps. So impressive that way. Offensive line working together. I thought guard play was very well. Talked about Bosa. We talked about the defensive guys. Richard Sherman. Yeah, the interception, I forgot about that. That Cousins threw to Sherman. Sherman basically ran Thielen's route for him. That one was on Thielen. I think he admitted himself, too, because he did not cross the corner. He just kind of just stopped. I guess Cousins didn't have to throw it, but they needed to make something happen. So you can put blame on both. But Richard Sherman ran the route for Adam Thielen, which was, for Adam Thielen, kind of known as one of the better route runners in the past in football. That's quite impressive for Sherman. Even though I don't think he really did anything special when it all comes down to it, but still impressive that he kind of, the way you look at it, he kind of ran the route for him. So, and once again, impressive performance all around for the San Francisco 49ers, and very easily could be the best defensive team left, and that could make the difference. I love the system. I love the coaching staff for the Niners. Absolutely love it. Next game is the Titans and the Ravens, and this game wasn't close either. I mean, the score actually makes it look, even though it's not close, the score actually makes it look closer than it actually was. Man, I just credit the Niners coaching staff all around. You got to do the same thing for the Tennessee Titans. Vrabel was taking, both Vrabel and Arthur Smith were taking some ripping early in the year. Vrabel with some weird decisions, kicking field goals, punting, all these random crucial decisions early in the year. And then Arthur Smith, couldn't really, the play calling wasn't too hot in the beginning of the year. And all of a sudden, it's just total flip. And they're just totally different. The offense is very unpredictable. And it starts because of the talent you have. You got Derrick Henry and you got Tannehill can throw the ball, but it's become so unpredictable. You have to stop Derrick Henry, but at the same time, anytime that they can run play action and they can bomb it and score on a big play to, no matter the receiver, and we actually saw that in this game. And then defensively, they game plan so well too, because the Titans, if they had, I think they're a pretty well balanced team. I like them on both sides of the ball. I've been talking up their defense. People have been doubting their defense because they've been giving up points at the end of the year. And I was trying to say, it's going to be better in the playoffs, people, and it kind of has. But if there is a weakness, it's kind of the pass rush on the edge. Cameron Wake being hurt, it's pretty much just Harold Landry rushing from the edge out there. So what they do is they only rush 3. The main reason being is because Lamar Jackson. You want to be able to contain him, have an extra body or two containing Lamar Jackson. And we've seen guys like Rashaan Evans, who's been absolutely lights out, Correa, who's been good, and that's kind of more his role. He came in the league, he was kind of switched over to being a pass rusher. He was actually on the Ravens. The Titans get him to be a pass rusher, and I never agree with him being a pass rusher. I like the role he was in. He actually had a big game, a guy that's kind of been under radar guy, not a good football player, but nothing special. And Logan Ryan was another key piece on containing Lamar Jackson. The 3 of those guys, for the most part, other guys were involved. We've seen Vaccaro come up and make plays, Byard come up and make plays in that way. But I think those 3 guys were the most involved in that because they decided to rush 3. So kind of going back to the pass rush of the Titans, if you were to rush 4 like you normally do, It's not like, that's going to change the game. If you're a team like the 49ers, and all of a sudden you're taking away a pass rusher from your team, like, you're hurting your team because that's your game. That's not the Titans game. And they're able to get pressure, on top of it, mainly in the second half, from your big-time players in the interior. Look at Jarrell Casey, who's always been a big-time player. And another thing I talked about, the Titans defense going to be better in the playoffs because Jeffrey Simmons, they were kind of keeping limited because of the injury he was coming off of. Now they're going full go with him, and you see the impact he's making. So genius game plan, rushing only 3 and containing. Great job by the linebackers, the secondary, breaking down, there was times here and there Lamar Jackson kind of got around guys. You expect that, but very consistent, very good game from the Titans. But yeah, you look at the start of the game, what the Titans do, that they're unpredictable, but they jam it down your throats. They run the clock, and it opens up everything else. And you can't. The Titans are the number 1 team in the NFL to not let you get your offensive groove going, and that's because of their offense. Actually, their defensive game plan plays a part in that, but their offense, the way they milk that clock and get positive yards at the same time, is just beautiful. But the Ravens actually moving the ball down the field to start the game, and then what I actually think was a good throw. People are kind of split on this, but I am 100% certain this is not Lamar Jackson's fault. It is a good throw. Mark Andrews gets about 2 inches off the ground, and it hits him right in the hands, and results in an interception. The type of plays the Titans make all year, but that one's really on Mark Andrews, who did not have a good game. We've seen more mistakes throughout the game. It did not look right, really. He's got to get up off the ground, and the ball hits him in the hands. He's got to make, it looked like his hands weren't almost ready to catch that ball. It was kind of odd, and that kind of started everything. But of course, when you have Lamar Jackson, when you have that offense, you're still in the game. But the Titans executing, they're running the clock at the same time of executing, and then the Ravens, like I said, still in the game. They have a 4th down decision. They have a 4th down. I don't mind going for that. When you have Lamar Jackson, you've done it all year. You can go for it. What I don't like is running straight up the middle, and people kind of. People. I think on TV, the broadcasters were saying if Lamar Jackson kind of follows his blockers, he gets the first down. I think possible. I still think he gets stopped. But what was wrong there was you don't send Lamar Jackson up the middle. And there's some people that are kind of on my side, but they wanted a little more of an RPO. You could have done that, but I don't even want that because RPO takes some time. You're kind of in the backfield stalling a little bit, a read option that is, and I think I'm fine with the shotgun. I think just get it and run outside. You're the fastest man on the field, and you can juke anybody out. The only way it fails if there's a line of guys out there. And when the box was stacked, everyone was in bunch. I think it would have worked. So I hate the play call, and this is where the Titans, great play calling and being unpredictable, and what Derrick Henry sets up for this team comes into play because everybody's thinking run. If they know in the back of their minds that there's a slight chance they throw it, but it's probably going to be something quick and short, maybe even a slip screen. They go play action, and he bombs the ball to a gem and undrafted free agent, Cleve Raymond. The guy's one of the faster players on the field there. I know Lamar Jackson might be the fastest, but he gets open. It's an absolute pearl from Ryan Tannehill. Great throw, great catch, touchdown, just like that. Because they couldn't convert the 4th, because they called the wrong play on 4th, and because another thing I've been talking about that I liked about the Ravens is they're the best blitzing team in football, which is crucial. And they blitzed in this game, but the Titans made them, I guess, afraid to blitz anymore. I'm really on this play because they blitzed the run and they picked it up well. And the Titans are a type of team that, it's very risky to blitz because, you don't know what they're going to do. Derrick Henry can take up the distance anytime, and they can fool you. And Ryan Tannehill can throw. People look at the stats. He threw for 70-something yards and 80-something yards last 2 games. It means nothing. He made the plays when he needed to. He's played good. And they didn't really need any more, and they may need some more next week, and I think he can give it to him. Not making a prediction off that. I'm just saying I think he can give it to him. But the key here, obviously, you have maybe right now the best player in football in Derrick Henry running the ball, and being unpredictable. You need the players to be able to be unpredictable. They do, but then there's so many teams that have the players that just still are predictable. And the Titans do an excellent job. And then the Ravens down the line. We see they can't really blitz a whole bunch anymore because you don't know what to expect. It can bite us in the ass at any time. It's kind of what they're thinking. That's kind of their game on defense. Titans still milking the clock and making big plays when they need to. The Ravens fail on another fourth down. That one is just great defensive play, nowhere to go for Lamar Jackson. I probably would have taken the points in that situation, but we see now in the long run here at the end of the game that didn't really matter. I guess maybe it was the right call to go try to get the bigger points and the touchdown. But the Titans defense was just so clutch. Guys, everybody was clutch. Very, very good game plan for the Titans. The Ravens. I blame the coach a little bit for some of these fourth down decisions. I don't blame Lamar Jackson whatsoever. He was making some good throws. I mean, it became a tougher task for him. It's harder to play quarterback when the defense knows you have to pass. I don't really blame him. Mark Andrews didn't have the best. The receivers in general didn't have the best game. Hollywood Brown played pretty darn well. That was pretty much it. One of the better lines in football too. Couldn't really hold up. It's just because everybody knows they're pass blocking. It's that much harder when the defense doesn't have to guess. That's kind of the name of the game. There in their defense, kind of a similar situation. They're a good blitzing team. They got good players. They can do more than just blitz. But once they can't really blitz anymore, and the blitz ain't a factor, it's pretty easy for the Titans offense to just continue to milk the clock and make the big plays. So, a great game plan for the Titans. Great game plan. They outcoached and outplayed the Ravens. It did look like the Ravens were a little rusty, but that didn't really matter to me. I think the Titans kind of forced that. So an impressive Titans team. Their record does not show how good they are in this one. So the game, I felt like the game was over pretty early there. So really no use to going down to the end and recapping everything in this game. But that's pretty much it there. The Texans and the Chiefs, a wild one here. 24 points right off the bat. I think it started with the Travis Kelce's drop. A fluke drop. He turned his head too early. Dropped the ball, that he should catch. And then right after that, they get the blocked punt, touchdown, 14-0 Texans, and that kind of just sent them. I'm not saying they blocked the punt because of Kelce, but it almost feels like that, the energy and the momentum. And then other players are dropping, other receivers are dropping the ball like crazy. They put Tyreek Hill back there, which confuses me. We know he's a weapon, but you had Hardman back there the whole year for the most part, and you put Tyreek Hill back there now. Why? The only explanation is because you think you're better with Tyreek Hill and it's playoff football, but you should be trying to win every single week in the regular season anyways. So it didn't really make any sense. He fumbled that. Texans score again. Eventually ends up being 24-0, obviously. And then it felt like, once they get some points on the board, then it kind of felt like Travis Kelce, who I think started the fall, started the rise too. He had a big-time catch. We saw Lonnie Johnson was on him at this point. I thought at this point, very early stage, has actually done a pretty good job on him. He comes out of the game on the special teams play. They put Justin Reed on him. They immediately go, great job of the staff, Mahomes, everybody, to go to Kelce. And Kelce makes this big play, carrying guys. And then he is absolutely, we always see him hyped, but he's absolutely hyped. And I feel like this is the rise of the Chiefs right now. So to me, Kelce was a key part. And throughout the rest of the game, Lonnie Johnson comes back in. And he couldn't handle him. He couldn't handle him at all. Not only catching it, covering him, contesting catches, and then after the catch, they just could not stop Kelce. And this was kind of the rise to them, of course, with other key pieces too, Mahomes being a big one, obviously, orchestrating the comeback. And and then from there, and then the Texans fumbled a kick. But, from there on out, it just felt like the Chiefs had control. I got to back up a little bit, forgetting about maybe the most part. Bill O'Brien decides to fake a punt from his own, I want to say 38-yard line, give or take there, when they're up, and that really shifts momentum. Really, why did the Chiefs come back? To me, it's because the Chiefs are the better team. They're explosive. When you have that explosive an offense and you're the better team, you can come back at any given time. But that decision by Bill O'Brien and the fail started. A lot of it started. I think Kelce really started the rise of the Chiefs. The energy of their team. But what kind of started the comeback and the flip of the game was Bill O'Brien's decision there. And I've always been you shouldn't go for it in that situation no matter what. But I've always been a believer in, if you're gonna go for it, go for it. You're gonna give the ball to a safety on a fake punt, And then the Chiefs, backup safety Sorensen, who actually had a pretty good game, by the way, but it's up to him to make a one-on-one tackle. And if that's like a running back or somebody that has to tackle, he might not make the tackle. But it's pretty clear cut with another safety running the ball that doesn't have tremendous speed or vision or cutting ability. So it was just it's just a terrible decision in general to do that, especially when you're up and where you're at on the field. It just changed everything. And Bill O'Brien continues to make these decisions, to kind of cost his teams. Bill O'Brien deserved to lose last week against the Bills. The guys like Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, some of these other J.J. Watt, they deserve a title. These guys deserve a ring, deserve to win. I don't think Bill O'Brien does. He deserved to lose last week, what the decisions he's made. And, they're not – people are thinking they're going to fire him. They're not going to fire him. They just put 100% trust in him, not only coach but GM this year. And losing in a divisional round is really not going to make that go from 100 to 0. So they're not going to fire him. I don't think he's the guy to lead them. I think they have players that can lead them. They do need more. There's not enough on defense. That's why they give it 51 points. They do need more. But, yeah, I'm not a big Bill O'Brien fan. I never really have been, in terms of his decision-making, I guess. Play calling, it definitely could be worse. There's definitely a lot worse out there. It's not great. It's not bad. Kind of in the middle there, but just decision-making specifically. But, yeah, then the Chiefs are just getting on a roll. At this point, it's a crazy game, but I think everybody, has kind of got that feel, especially at halftime. Missed kick by the Texans. The Chiefs are going to win this one. I think that's what we all kind of felt. They're rolling. They can't stop Kelsey. Damian Williams getting involved in the pass game. Mahomes is slinging it to everybody on the run, fitting in the tight spots, putting it exactly where it needs to be. There's really no stopping this guy. Even though there was 31 points scored on the Texans side, you have to credit the Chiefs' defense because there was 24 instantly, and not all of it was the defense's fault. But even though they're coming back, there's a very easy chance the Texans could just keep scoring, and it makes it that much harder for the Chiefs to come back. But the defense stepped up. Frank Clark had a monster day. They didn't have Chris Jones, who would have been the best defensive player on the field, right now, in my opinion. I know J.J. Watt's a Hall of Famer, but Chris Jones, today on that field, if he was on the field, he was the best defensive player, no doubt in my mind, and he wasn't in there. So guys like Frank Clark are stepping up, Tyrann Mathieu having a big game. Guys are stepping up. Even Sorensen's playing pretty well. The linebackers are actually playing pretty well. They don't have the big names at linebacker, but those guys are playing pretty well. So only one more touchdown score for the Texans. And then once you get up, it kind of pops up again here. Once you get up, the Texans have to pass. It's pretty easy to play defense, no matter who you are, no matter who you're playing against, when you know what's coming. Defense is a big guessing game, so that applied in every single game at this point. Not that I think if the Chiefs didn't know what the Texans were doing, would they have come back? Could they keep up with the Chiefs? That's the other question. Most likely not. They scored 51 points. But what a game for the Chiefs. That comeback really sets the tone, really gets the momentum, going for a next AFC Championship game and on. So that is big time for them. Crazy game that, the Chiefs were the better team, I think, and they had the offense to come back, and that's why they came back and won. But Bill O'Brien definitely kind of set that up a little bit, and that was pretty brutal there. Watson, the thing I don't like about Deshaun Watson, I love Deshaun Watson, but there is a problem with this game sometimes, and I guess it's pocket presence, which he, better than anybody, anytime can roll out of the pocket, avoid sacks, and make a crazy elite play. We see it all the time, not just last week against the Bills. But what I don't like is he kind of expects to be pressured too much, and there's times where he does have time, and there's times where you catch him looking behind him instead of looking downfield. Those are things I think he needs to clean up, but that's kind of one of those things that's in his head, so can he clean that up? But even with that, he's a great player, he's a great young player, and definitely deserving of more than that, I think. So wild game. We're on to the last one. Ends up being a close game. To start this game, you gotta love the script from LaFleur. We've seen him with pretty good scripts to start games, but this one was excellent. Just moved down the field pretty easily, and very easily. Great play calls, and then you end up with a second down, and then Jadeveon Clowney. This is the first drive I'm talking about. Jadeveon Clowney makes a beautiful read and gets him for a negative. Gets him for a loss on a run, and it ends up being, I think, a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 8. So at this point, you may be getting a field goal off pretty much a perfect designed drive, all because of one player on the other team. So at this point, I was that play was huge. But the next play, you get another great play design and another great route from Davante Adams. They got two receivers on the left. And then you think Davante Adams is going for the pick, and he had Trey Flowers on skating by. Great route, great sell by Davante Adams. Back up the seams, and then back up the sideline in for a touchdown. Pretty simple. But you have to sell it. You have to sell it, and it's a great concept there. So the Packers are off to a good start. And, that Packers team with that offense is scary because we know their defense can play. In combining both and showing the balance and the firepower of both is pretty scary, for the Packers. And then right away, the Seahawks get the ball. Right away, we see a fumble. And what I think is a clear recovery by the Packers, and they review this for a long time, and they give the ball back to the Seahawks. I don't like this. I thought it was a clear fumble, clear recovery by the Packers, and I don't like that. There's no the reasoning is there's no clear evidence they can see it, but there sure is. You have to be they're thinking, and their explanation is you have to be damn sure somebody covered it. But to me, you have to be damn sure the Packers didn't cover it. And to me, so you kind of can argue both sides here. But really, in this specific scenario, I don't think you can argue both sides. I think the Packers covered it. I mean, that could have been a huge difference maker in the game. The game might have not have been a game at the end because of this. But anyways, early on, Za'Darius Smith's once again having a monster game. Doing a great job. The defensive backs are doing a great job, in coverage. At the same time, I don't like. I do a lot of blaming of the of the coaching staffs this week, but it's a crucial situation. There can't be any mistakes. Guys that have been this experienced, but the Seahawks, a lot of running the ball. So I know that's their game plan, but you have Russell Wilson. I mean, you got crucial downs. There's no point to running the ball on first down. There's crucial third downs and more than a yard, even if it's a yard or even inches, you still get the ball in Russell Wilson's hands, but they're not doing that. Two receiver sets with no tight ends going out. Very easy to cover two receivers. I know you really only have two good receivers, and you look at the replays, you see DK Metcalf on one side, Tyler Lockett on the other side, no tight ends going out. I mean, they both got at least two guys on them, both of them. What is Russell Wilson supposed to do? At the same time, he's got the Smith boys coming after him. At the same time, he's got Kenny Clark coming after him. What is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? It's just I did not like the plays, the personnel, and the play calls early in the game. They just insisted once again on the run game. In the second half, when you're down, you're getting down big, you have to pass. And once again, it comes up, the defense knows you're passing because you're down, but Russell Wilson's still able to make plays. It's because he's Russell Wilson. He's that good. We've seen it. I recapped the other games. We've seen it. Kirk Cousins, the defense knew he was passing. He couldn't do much. You've seen Lamar Jackson, the defense really knew he was passing. He couldn't really do. He still played, I think, an okay game, but he couldn't do much. And then you see the other game, Deshaun Watson struggling a little more than he usually does when he usually does. Then when the defense knows he's passing, and then in this scenario, it shows how a different league that Russell. We already knew that, but we see he's in a different league because the teams know that they're passing. And he's still able to make plays when he really only has two receivers. I know there's a few more there, and they're down three running backs on top of it. But being down three running backs should tell yourself that you can't really rely on Marshawn Lynch. What are you running the ball to Marshawn Lynch on 1st and 10? What is the max amount of yards he's going to get in your head? It's a waste of a down. Homer's a little better to me in that situation, but he's a fourth running back. They're missing Chris Carson, they're missing Rashad Penny, and they're missing CJ Prosise. I think if they have Rashad Penny, who their second running back is, they're in a lot better shape. I'm not going to sit here and say they win the game or they would go to the Super Bowl. They very well could, but they're in a lot better shape. So the fact that I basically, to summarize it, I hated their game plan, their decision-making, their play calling, who was in the game and when early in the game, and it screwed them at the end. You kind of dug yourselves a hole. You made it so you had to only pass and try to come back, and you just didn't have enough at the end. You actually had chances at the end, but you're playing a good pass rush, a good defense, a well-coached defense, a good secondary. We've seen them with 5 DBs in there at once a lot of the time, and it's really just covering the whole field while you're getting that pass rush from both the edge, both the interior. I mean, the Seahawks kind of set themselves up to fail here, and I really think so. But a great game. Aaron Rodgers. He made some clutch. I think that throw on, even though they actually had to eventually punt. There was a throw on a third down to Geronimo Allison, actually. That was, Rodgers under pressure. I kind of throw off his back foot. It was a low throw, a great catch. A great throw, even better catch. That was able to take some more time off. People won't really look at that one because I think the Seahawks eventually got a sack, and the Packers had to punt the ball. The Seahawks got a shot, and then, again, credit to the Packers defense stepping up big time, getting pressure when they need to, and locking down in coverage when they needed to. But that was a big play because it took a lot of time off. They were about to get the ball back 3 and out, and it took momentum away for the Seahawks. That might be the play of the game. I'm thinking about it. Down the line to milk the game. There was Devontae Adams who had a ridiculous game. His route running, Aaron Rodgers had a ridiculous game. They didn't really have to. Aaron Jones, I think, played well. It was kind of like the opposite of the Titans. The Titans ran the ball so well that they didn't really need Tannehill to do a whole bunch. Same thing with the Niners. It's kind of the opposite. Like the Packers were kind of throwing the ball so well, and they didn't really need to use Aaron Jones a whole bunch more. I would have liked that they used him a little more, but it was kind of that situation. But yeah, now that I'm talking about it, it's not really something I thought of before. But that Allison play was big because it sucked some momentum out of the Seahawks. It wasn't going to be a 3 and out, and it really wasted a lot more time. And the Seahawks had their chances, though, and they were scoring pretty easy. And credit to the Packers defense to step up. Credit to Aaron Rodgers. Even Jimmy Graham stepping up. Allison, we talked about. Devontae Adams had a monster game. All those guys stepping up there, making the big-time plays. But something I didn't notice about the Packers defense in the second half when the Seahawks were scoring, they look absolutely gassed. That's actually why I was surprised that they I did pick the Packers to win this game, and I was confident in the Packers, but the way the game, as I was watching it, and the Seahawks, down 23-28, and they get 2 chances, I'm thinking the Seahawks might win the game, or the Packers will have a chance to win it on a field goal late after the Seahawks take the lead because they were scoring so easy, but mainly the Packers defense looked not just gassed, absolutely exhausted. And then so all of a sudden they regained what they had, and they made some big stops, but kind of going back to that I think is the key play of the game, that Allison play, because if it wasn't for that catch, they were given the ball instantly back. The Seahawks just scored with 9.5 minutes, so there was around 9 minutes, maybe 8:45 left. They were going to have to punt the ball back right then. That play was absolutely huge. I knew it was big last night, but as I'm talking right at this moment, I'm realizing how big that was. Crazy throw under pressure, but an even better catch. And it's a need for the Packers. You really think, the Packers really only have Devontae Adams, but these guys stepped up. So very impressive game. Very impressive game. Yeah, I thought the Seahawks could come back in that one. So that was to hold, the fourth quarter wizard, Russell Wilson off, when you're exhausted, that was impressive for the Packers. Very, very impressive. Oh, and the last play of the game, the Jimmy Graham, it was a first down. Let's be clear here. You see the TV marker was off. Even with the TV marker not being off, it was like a weird play where he was like held up. You picture it, what makes sense. You think his body would be down, but it actually wasn't. It was held up, like it was oddly held up. So he honestly was very, very close to getting it, even where the TV line was. But where the actual first down in real life, in the real game was, he definitely easily got the first down. So I don't like how I get mad at refs all the time. And their officiating really wasn't that good in this game. We talked about that fumble early. There was a face mask called when it should have been called. There was a face mask not called when it should be. There was plays like that. Clete Blakeman, whatever. But what I don't like at the end of the game is people acting like, if they made the right call, even though it wasn't the right call, so it would have been 4th and inches. People act like, the Seahawks would have won. I guess there was a chance, but it's really not how it works. It's happened in I'm not just trying to pick on this specific game. Every game, all year, there was games the refs costed teams. It was like bigger, but there was bigger moments throughout the games. People look at one play and automatically assume it doesn't result in a Seahawks touchdown, or so I didn't like how people were acting like that. But yeah, I thought he got the first down. But a crazy game here. Russell Wilson almost pulled it off at the end. Really missed his running backs. Really missed more than 2 receivers and a tight end. It's pretty much Lockett who had a huge game. He had some big time catches in that game. Big time plays. We've seen him, I think on the touchdown against Jair Alexander actually had some contact on him, and Lockett absorbed it on the pretty much the sideline in the end zone, and then went off, pushed, he didn't push off the player, but he kind of pushed off that contact, and Alexander lost some momentum. That's just smart. It's just real smart. So he had a big game, but Russell Wilson needed more. Needed more offensive line help, needed more running back help, needed more receiver help, needed more tight end help, and the guy's a wizard. But there was a wizard on the other side too. Rodgers made some big time plays. Their receiver stepped up. We see kind of what I talked about leading up to this game is that the Packers, I believe they have some more offense in them. The knock on the Packers was their offense just wasn't playing that good at the end of the season. But Rodgers can go off at any time, and Davante Adams really hasn't been a factor. But we all know he is a factor, and in big games like this, he is a huge factor. So the Packers offense is better than everybody thought. Just because they struggle to put up a lot of points in the Bears, even though they beat them. Just because they struggle to put up a lot of points against the Vikings, but they still beat them. They lost one time against the Chargers, with that big streak towards the end of the year. Like, it really doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. So there was a little too much doubt there. But entertaining game, a lot of entertaining, for the most part, a lot of entertaining games. Not all of them. My Vikings let me down. That wasn't entertaining at all. And not because they were losing, just because they just got completely outcoached and outplayed. But yeah, that's my recap. You guys voted for player. I forgot about that. You guys voted for players of the week on the community section on the channel. If you turn notifications on, you won't miss that. You voted for Derrick Henry, AFC, and Davante Adams, NFC. Can't really disagree. You could argue Mahomes, though, with the comeback. I thought Travis Kelce set the tone. NFC, yeah, you could argue Nick Bosa, I guess. I like Davante Adams stepping up, being a factor. So I like those picks there. Appreciate you guys for watching. We got all kinds of predictions coming up, previews coming up for this week. We still got off-season coverage and draft coverage at the same time. We covered all. We're going to rank players from the regular season from all kinds of different ranks. Still got to do all that. Still got to show my all-pro team. So a lot to come here at the Goat House. Appreciate you guys. Please subscribe to both channels. Follow us on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter, make one. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.